to Very Special Coworking, a podcast about what makes coworking special. And this month, we're talking coworking with Anne Olsen from the Shop Workspace. You're in so many different places: Brooklyn, Salt Lake City, New Orleans. You're going to tell us if you're at all three of them, not at the same time, obviously, or maybe with a projection or something later. But first of all, Anne, thank you so much for being with us this month.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to join.
Yeah, same here. As I was saying, many different places, but that's not how it started. I remember we talked a bit about it, and you really went from not knowing about coworking to building your own coworking by yourself, with help also.
Of
You will
course.
tell us about that. But first of all, how did it start? How did you learn about coworking the first time, and how did you start working for the shop?
Yeah. I love this question because I feel like my journey into this industry has a lot of parallels with a lot of other people that I've been fortunate enough to connect with. I had no idea that I was going to be in co-working when I was a kid. It's not something that I was able to say, yeah, when I grow up, I want to be director of co-working. That was not a job title. I'm sure I wanted to be a cat or an astronaut or something. And I left school, was working for this local magazine, doing community development work and a little smattering of everything. I was like organizing large scale events and I was managing ad sales and doing different things, but not feeling like it was quite right and needed health insurance. I went out looking for a new role and I saw a post for Kiln, who was hiring at the time. They are a brand that's getting bigger and bigger by the month, which is great here on the West Coast in the States. And they were hiring for a community specialist. And I was like, I have no idea what that is. I think Kiln should be pottery related. Let's go for it. The job description sounded interesting. And I thought, what's the worst that could happen? And they ended up calling me and I got the job. And I very quickly realized, oh, wait, this role is an amalgamation of all the things that I loved about these different jobs in the past that I wish I could have just popped and taken with me. And I very quickly realized I'd found a good fit and something that was really engaging to me that I wanted more of. And that was back in, 2018, like early 2018. So way back when. 8 years ago.
Yes, so you don't know anything about coworking then, and you just discovering it and building their first coworking space from scratch. Is that it?
Yep, exactly. So I had no idea what it was, got the job, and Kiln was, I think they had opened a beta trial location in Lehigh, which is a suburb of Salt Lake City in Utah, where I am today. I am in Salt Lake at our second location here at the shop home base. But this was their flagship, first location. It was 30,000 square feet, this mall in downtown Salt Lake that, what a fantastic example of adapted reuse. They were checking so many boxes that I understand now and did not nearly appreciate enough then. And I came in while the construction was still being finalized. I remember the smell of the wood when they were putting the theater in that Salt Lake location while I was touring on my interview. It was crazy how material and how involved we were. We were putting chairs together for weeks at that Salt Lake location. But then it opened and it was fantastic. And we had a really fun couple of years where we were building from nothing all the way up to full and bustling and moving and all these different events. And we had a lot of fun. I remember we were joking about May the 4th before we started recording, but I'd never watched Star Wars as a kid. I was way more of a Harry Potter kid. And I was tasked with throwing this large Star Wars holiday party for when the first of the new saga was coming out. And I threw myself into it. I watched the original trilogy, the new ones. I had these massive inflatable. We had Jabba the Hutt over our bar station. We had a lot of fun with it. And really fun times at Kiln. And then, as everyone knows, 2020 happened and everything felt really uncertain and really weird. And through a different series of events, I ended up in contact with the domain companies who I work for now. And they had launched the Shop Workspace in New Orleans and we're looking for someone to pick it up here in Salt Lake, and I had to pick up that opportunity.
Great. So you learned from scratch as doing along the way. And then, as we were saying, 2020 happened and you had to think about something. And you found that new opportunity. So the start in New Orleans, you're doing it in Salt Lake City. And then it happened again in Brooklyn. And you're taking care of Salt Lake City, or are you sometimes in New Orleans or in Brooklyn, or?
Yeah, all the above. So when I came
Okay.
on in July of 2020, and I remember they had like just poured the concrete in our Salt Lake location. So they were still
Mm-hmm.
framing more offices, you're making floor plan decisions. It was pretty early. And we opened in April of that following year. And then after I had started in a community manager capacity for the Salt Lake location. So I went specialist, then manager. And then after
Mm-hmm.
doing that for a few years, about a year and a half ago, they pulled me up to be director of the vertical. So now I'm over all of our existing operations, which is our first location in New Orleans, about 40,000 square feet. Second here in Salt Lake, where I sit today, which is 30,000 square feet. Then I opened my very first from the absolute beginning, and our third overall in Brooklyn, and that opened in October of last year. It's bringing in about 15,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is my job to just keep doing that. So we have announced our fourth location. It's going to be in New Orleans, opening, oh gosh, I think May 15th. Fingers crossed, everyone, knock on wood, when you listen to this, that the timing should work. And then we are also in communication on a handful of opportunities in New York and really bullish on expanding. I've gotten to go from this very much, I was the front desk and I brewed the coffee in the morning and I put snacks out every
Yeah.
afternoon, to I'm having large scale conversations with investors and touring sites in New York. This most recent week, I had this pinch me moment. I'm 30 years old, and this most recent week, Monday morning, I like took the early flight to JFK and then worked all week and then took the late flight home Friday night. And I had this moment where I was like, if 10 years ago could see me now, if even 20 to 30 had any idea, like I can't emphasize enough anything. I was such a hooligan as a kid. Like I had no idea what was going to happen down the line. And I was talking with my mom over the weekend, and she was saying like I have three very different daughters, and one had because I'm getting married in June. There's more context here, but anyways, she's one daughter, my older sister Ashton. She had everything planned from the womb. Ariel, my other older sister, just handed me everything and said, "You do it, and I'll show up and get married." And then Annie, she's just winging it all the time, and it's just always happening and always working out for her. And I'm like, that's the mantra that we need to hold. But I think I've been traveling so much and moving around so much, and yeah, I don't know firsthand how much I struggle with time zones. But yeah, I was in New York last week, New Orleans the week before that,
I understand.
Salt Lake this week. But yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
such an exciting time. It really is
Yeah.
just remarkable what the last decade has brought me. I'm so excited for what's next.
All right. You were talking about 10 years ago, you wouldn't believe what's happening now. If you
Yeah.
could say something to yourself 10 years ago, what would you say? Just go for it? Or would you give some advice? Would you redo some things differently? Or,
Oh, I would tell her it's worth it. I think that I have always been very stubborn, and I'm
mm-hmm.
always been I don't like to be stopped by different problems. Like I will
Mm.
fixate on a barrier until I can figure out a way around it. And I've just always been that way. And I've always wanted to do it my way. And I think maybe it's like my birth order. I'm the youngest of four. I don't know if that's where it's coming from, but I've always just been like, let me do it myself. And at 20, I was working two jobs to pay rent and being stubborn and just like wanting to do things my way. I wanted the apartment downtown. I wanted to hang out with my friends on the weekends. And if that meant that Monday through Thursday I was pulling doubles, like whatever. And it was hard, but it was so worth it. And that's what really helped propel me
Mm.
to get to where I am now. And at my age, like I'm really grateful for what I've been able to accomplish at 30. And I think that if this last decade is any indication of what we'll be capable of in the next, I'm really looking forward to the next 10 years too. The next
Yeah.
one, the next week, right? There's just so much stuff on the horizon that can make your head spin. But I think there's just so much possibility, and that just brings me so much joy to think about.
Yeah, that's great. We'll talk more about that later. But first of all, I'm thinking about, so you started about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, yes. And then you change, you work for somebody else. So it's your second experience. Was that different to work with the employer you work with now? Or did you do all the same thing? Or was there some lesson learned from your first experience you applied? How different was it?
Yeah, 100%. I think I love this question because it is such a testament to how many different ways there are to do this, to do what we do and to do what we love.
Yes.
I think Kiln in so many ways is Arian Lewis's vision. Like he has been thinking
Yes.
about that brand for so long. Like Arian's been in the game for a very long time. He was building in London. He built for Barclays. He helped bring co-working to the United States. Like that, he was a part of that. And he had been thinking about Kiln and fixating on it the same way, if not more, than the way that I fixate on the shop all the time. So knowing that Kiln is that specific version of his vision, when I was working there, it was my job to execute that. And that was so much fun because so defined. He really has, and I know they're still implementing a lot of these ideas, like his commitment to integrating wellness and scaling and being really effective and leaning into that hub and spoke model. Like they're doing that, and that's awesome. And that's the way that Kiln is meant to work. And working there and executing that vision was so much fun. And then when I was given the opportunity to come here, the reason I jumped at it is because now it was my turn, right? Like I had thoughts and ideas of, oh, okay, that is really cool the way you're doing it. I have maybe this other thing I would spend my money on first. Like I'm going to try that and see what happens. And I think what's been so rewarding is to see truly how both of our products can be the perfect fit for different people, right? Like we're not meant to fit everyone, right? I think co-working, particularly like boutique co-working, boutique hospitality, which I really think is on the rise. I think even these large scale brands like Industrious know that's why they built that really beautiful space at the Lever House that will be opening up. Like they know that's a direction that people are heading. But I think that those kind of distinctions of how maybe like I'm leaning a little bit harder here, whereas like you might have leaned a little bit harder there, that feels like it all shakes out because hospitality and boutique hospitality thrives on difference, right? You start to fall into a trap. You start to get in a sticky spot when you start to do things the same way over and over. And that's not to dig on process. You need process for operations. But from a design and experience perspective, if you are doing the same thing everywhere you go, then you're actually not building for that place. And I think that's where the shop is super focused right now, is on hybrid placemaking, really delivering an incredible hospitality forward experience and doing so in residentially dense areas. And that's our bread and butter, right? So working for the shop, I get to declare those three things, right? I get to say, this is what we're working on right now. I get to, where is it? Work on making a kid's activity book. I made a little fortune teller submit that's lower themes. Like I get to do this because I think it's fun. And this is something that I think would add to our brand, right? This is very shop. And this is because I'm here. And that is what's so incredible about the work we get to do. And then if you want to do something else or you want to do this, go do it. That's the best part. Just go do it. No one's stopping you. It's been really fun to see the differences there. And as someone who is stubborn and bullheaded all the time, like I really love to do things my way. So I'm the first to say, I am just super stubborn. And I know that, and it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. And that leads to the next question. I asked about what's the difference between the first and second experience, but now you have evolved in as a co-working manager. Like you were saying earlier, before you used to make coffee in the morning and get the snacks in the afternoon. And now you're having different conversation. You're not on the day-to-day basis in the space with the members. You're more maybe strategic and you're talking with all kinds of different people. So both have pros and cons. How have you adapted to going from the really on-ground operation to your current role?
Oh man, I really like this question too. I don't know how good I have done that. I really I love people. I always have. And
Mm.
I really make a point that even in my role as director, that though I am more removed from the sites, like I'm still working from the
Mhm.
sites every day, right? Members are coming and going, but anyone I recognize, I'm really making an effort to stop and say hello and catch up with them to fill my cup in that regard. It's a selfish thing. I almost feel like a little co-working energy vampire where I'm like, come and talk to me, like, tell me about your life. I want to catch up. But that's besides the point. But I'm sure I also drive my team crazy because someone will be walking past the front desk. I'm like, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? And they're like, that's a member who's been here for months and you just haven't had a chance to meet them yet. So there's definitely like some adjustments there for me. But I think more than anything, the con is that you can be building and building, and sometimes when you're finally enjoying it and you're seeing people enjoy it, there's a little bit of a bittersweet, like not knowing that person that you're building for. You know them, you know who they're meant to be,
Mhm.
right? They're this ICP you've built in your head, right? Like they fed to these little
Yeah.
buckets. So you're like, I'm building for this person and I'm so glad that you love it. But I want to know what you did last weekend, right? I want to know what you're working on. I want to have a conversation like this with you where your face lights up because you're so excited about this new thing that you figured out. So I think from a pro con perspective, that's one of the biggest cons is like less opportunities to do that. Conversely, I am actually looking for more ways to find it in other ways, which I think like this conversation is totally a great example of that. Going to Juicy in a couple of weeks, it's another great example of that. My involvement with Lexi and Block and everything. But it definitely, there's an adjustment. It's weird, like, when I go upstairs to get a cup of coffee and no one knows who I am or someone's struggling with our Jira and I'm, like, trying to help them, and then they ask who I work for, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like, I have to introduce myself in this way now. I don't wanna freak you out, but I run this. Yeah, what's up? Do you like it? You having a good time?" So that's always funny, but so that's con, which is in so many ways not even that big of a problem, right, which I'm grateful for. The pros, it's infinite. I want to be so clear, like, and I say this in every interview, and I'm very clear about this with my team, like, no matter what title you have, no one is above sweeping, no one is above loading the dishes or making the coffee. Like, I'm still doing those things. I'm more than happy to help with those things, and I'll throw down on a charcuterie board with the best of them. Like, all that stuff is still my purview. But from a type of work perspective, I get to be creative in this kind of fun way, and I get to approach these problems and learn and see just like what's going to work, right? Like my days are so varied. I can be working on our CRM and workflows and trying to get better at building them in the morning, and then I can be touring a site with a broker in FiDi in the afternoon, and then I can be meeting up with these great artist partners of ours in Gowanus because they're launching a new gallery space in a neighboring building, right? Like I can go and have all of these different buckets, and the best part is like I get to pick what I work on that day, right? And I get to and move forward and what I don't. And of course, like I have deadlines and reports and like bosses, right? Like I still have people that
Mhm.
I'm really grateful that they trust me to do what I'm doing, and I meet
Mhm.
with them once every couple weeks about the general portfolio, about our operations and what's next. And in between that, we talk about opportunities for future deals and how our current spaces are leasing up. That's the dream. Like, I really feel like we get
Mm.
to do what feels right instead of what we're told. And I think
Mhm.
that feels really good. I like that a lot.
Yeah, because one important thing is that the shop isn't on its own. It's part of bigger company doing different things. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of partnerships, the co-working part and the local needs. And
Hmm.
they, as leadership, must have some kind of vision, and you must align on that vision. And apparently that's working well, which is
Yeah.
really important, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really
Mm.
grateful. I'm really grateful that we're as aligned as we are. I think my life would be a lot harder if we weren't. But
Mm.
both my bosses, both Matt and Aaron, they're the CEO, one of the CEOs and COO of the Domain Companies, which is a larger residential real estate development company, primarily based out of New York and New Orleans as well. They launched this brand back in 2017, and it was meant to originally it was going to be one of one. And then it was like, oh, like maybe it's working really well here. It's doing really well. Let's do more of them. And then now we have this opportunity to just take it and run.
Yeah, and so they started in your names, now Satellite City. You started recently in Brooklyn, New York, and you
Hmm.
were talking maybe about doing again another space.
Yeah, yeah. So we have the Brooklyn location that's about 80% full right now, opened in October. We then are
Mm-hmm.
opening 5,000 square feet in New Orleans. It's about a 10-minute walk from our existing location. It's new model for us, which I'm really excited. We're testing out something different. Most of
Ooh.
our spaces they're just big. They're like 15, 30, 40,000 square feet right now. This is our smallest by far. We're going to be taking kind of like a members only approach. It's a little bit different the way that's stacking up. No like passive day passes, no external events, a thing. Very much like a private study. Pardon me. Whereas the location at the Contemporary Art Center, our original one in New Orleans, will continue to function as like our cultural salon that's going to have over 20 events programmed every month. And it's going to be really bustling. And those members can go in between the two depending on what they need that day. So I'm really excited about that compliment. And then that's probably our fourth. And then our fifth, there are a couple opportunities in Brooklyn right now, as well as one in the city where I have the biggest frog in my throat right now. But we
That's fine.
are, thanks, we're going through deciding, kind of working the numbers of what's going to make the most sense for us next steps there. But if all goes according to plan, we could have even a fifth location open before the end of this year, which would be really fantastic. But my ultimate 2026 goal is I want 6 locations either opened or confirmed and in progress by the end of this year. So I'm very
Ooh.
locked in on that. We're about a third of the
Yeah,
way
so
through.
it's a lot of work to plan another opening and to choose another location. I also think about how they work with one another. Like you were saying, in your links, you have two locations that are close to each
Mhm.
other, but they're not the same concept at all. So there's that too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely wanting to be thoughtful of the ways in which they interact with each other. And I think our 3 markets are so different fundamentally, right? And I think we're there because of our parent company, because of Domain, and it makes sense for us to be there. But ultimately, it's less about the state that we're in and then more about
Hmm.
the neighborhood, the micro location that we're in, and kind of what
Ooh,
that space is
okay.
looking and feeling like. And then more even than that is that residential density is really important to us. It makes for better communities, it makes for better spaces, and I think that that's really gonna be a critical driving force for us into the future as we decide these next handful of locations and where we put them.
No, it
Yeah.
makes sense. So you're saying 6 location is your goal for 2026. Do
Yes.
you have any other goal either for this year or the next coming years? Or are you hyper focused on those new locations?
Yeah, so that's my 1 year. We have 1, 3, and 5. One of the other things that's happening for me this year, I'll be moving to New York full time. I've been splitting my time
Ooh.
in the last year and a half between Salt Lake
Mm-hmm.
and Brooklyn, and then making guest appearances in New Orleans quarterly. And now it's monthly with our new location there. And that is great for my Sky Miles account. Tough as you go back and forth all the time.
Mm.
I miss my
Yeah.
dog. I miss my fiance. I want to be home. We made the
Mm-hmm.
decision that I know that the next 2 years I'm committed to building this. I know that we're building in New York. This fall we're going to be moving there. I'm taking that jump for a couple of years so I can just get locked in, open these locations, grow this brand the way that I really want to, and then kind of move from there, which will be a lot of fun. And then that being said, into next year, we'll be moving into 10 locations will be our next goal, and then 15 from there.
Yeah.
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 So it's pretty aggressive and pretty
Yes.
intense
Yeah,
going
definitely
back and
aggressive.
forth from all those location. Yeah.
Yeah, we went from opening one every 4 years to like 4 in a year. So that's a lot of fun. And I think there are a lot of things that have to fall into place. And I think really our having the support of Domain is so important in the way that we're
Mm.
growing. And even just for me personally, like I've learned so much from the guys and from really the team. We have so many remarkable people on that team in every single department that the shop really gets to benefit from. If I have accounting questions, I don't have to suffer in silence. I can go to our world-class accounting team and say, "Hey, please help me figure this out because I don't know how to do it myself. And then if I want support understanding how this financial model is working because I studied sociology in college and not math or Excel, I can go to Chloe or our fantastic development team and thank the Tulane real estate program for giving us so many incredible people and just say, help me understand this rev share. I don't understand the difference between this and that. And being in an environment where I can ask those questions and learn and test and iterate and innovate is, I really just feel so fortunate for it. And it's been what has made so many of the things we've accomplished as the shop possible, is to have this backing and support to fall back on when things are looking a little gray. And then as soon as I'm feeling good and the ground is steady, and we can just rock and roll, which is great.
Yeah, I hear that. That's really great. And
Yeah.
as we're coming towards the end, I was going to ask you if there's one last thing you wanted to talk about, but maybe that was it. It's all the support you have inside the company, maybe from your parent company, maybe from other positions. You were talking about accounting, etc. And also surely other people working in the local co-working spaces.
Yes.
It's all together that you're making it possible.
100%. It takes a village, right? It takes a community. And I think we, in this industry, we talk about community so much. It's almost painful, right? It's almost painful because what does that mean, right? What is community? It is, can I touch it? Can I measure it? Can I take pictures of it? What is it? What is it? It's this very mystical thing that we're all convinced we've cracked the code on, myself included. I'm part of that problem, right? Like, I know that. But I think that if community is what we think it is, right? At the end of the day, if community is truly what we think it is, you should be able to look around at the community you've built around yourself and be proud. And if not, then how are you building effective communities in your spaces? If you don't have someone that you can go and call on for help, right? Because and I've put the time in and I've networked and I've met people and followed up and sent thank you notes, right? If you are really putting yourself in those right rooms and at the right tables in the right places, asking the right questions, like, the communities you're building should be just as remarkable as the ones that already exist around yourself. And I think that the domain is such an incredible starting point for me in that regard. And then co-working has brought so many fantastic, what I know are going to be lifelong relationships in my life, people I've already known close to a decade. And it's just easy, right? You pick up and it's no time is lost because you all just care about the same things and your face lights up at the same topics. Like that fills your cup up in such a unique and such an important way. And it doesn't have to be at the conferences, though you should go. They're super fun. It can be in coffee chats like this. It can be in programs like Flock. We do monthly matchups and future leaders of co-working. And that is another really remarkable way to just get in touch and feel supported and feel candidly like a little less crazy. We're a little less, oh, other people see this too. Other people are thinking about this also. And that feels good, right? I'm not one of one in that regard. And that feels good. That's a really underrated way to be seen and to be heard in that way. Is I'm so grateful for the people in my life that do that for me, and I hope I can do that for other people.
I think you perfectly describe what community is in concrete words, not just as the C word it is.
I try. Yeah.
What if people want to know more about the shop or about you, reach out to you? How can they do that?
Yeah, there are a couple of ways. I am more on LinkedIn than I should be, so please send me a connection. I love to talk. I'm more than happy. I know I have a crazy schedule, but I'm always happy to carve 15, 30 minutes out to just get connected and grow my network, grow my community a little bit more. If you want to know more about the shop, you can find us at shopworkspace.com or at Shop Workspace on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook also. We do have location-specific pages, so if you are in the States in one of those, either Utah, Louisiana, or New York, please give us a follow there so you can come and see our spaces. We'd love to host you for a day and just say hey. And hope to see
that sounds great.
Roll come on through. It'll be a good time. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. It was very heartwarming. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was what an incredible way to start my week. Like Monday morning, I feel great.
Yeah.
Thanks
Me
for
too.
everything
Thank
you
you so
do.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
working with you.
And see you again. Let's catch up. Okay?
Yes, I'm on board. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.